Welcome back to Unraveling the Brain. Dr. Lauren Lyman here with the LaRusso family. I am stepping in for Dr. Josh today because we have a really awesome interview. I want to talk about Liam and the progress he's made here and just like give you guys some time to talk about what you've observed, why you came, and we'll kind of dig into the details and go through that, and maybe we can relate to some other parents with motor goals for their child. So tell us why you're here, and then we can start there.
Yeah, so our son Liam has a condition called agenesis of the corpus callosum. So the white matter between the two hemispheres of the brain wasn't developed in utero, so it affects his ability for the two sides to talk to one another, which has resulted in him having some speech and motor delays. So we found Infinity, and we're hoping to kind of get those connections moving through the lasers. And we came back about 6 months ago and saw some great progress with our son, and we wanted to come back and do it again to continue that progression.
What did you see back in February when you got home?
Prior to us coming to Infinity, Liam had been in early intervention and outpatient physical therapy, occupational therapy, and a little bit of speech therapy as well. And we'd seen some steady progression, but it wasn't significant. So
A lot slower.
Yes, much slower. And so when we came here last time, he wasn't walking yet. He was about 22 months when we came. Still wasn't walking independently, and felt like the week after we left, he was completely independent with his walking. And so we saw fast progress for the first time, and it just felt like he needed something to get him over the hump. He was always so close to hitting a milestone, but there was just something holding him back, and we felt like finding an alternative to a traditional medicine option, or not necessarily medicine, but just a traditional intervention, seemed like it was worth the shot. And so when we found Infinity, we wanted to give it a shot, and it's really worked for us.
Cool. Well, and being here, there's something special about that. But before you even came, we ran some labs, and so I actually got to do your phone consultation. I was looking at my notes of that call, labs that we recommended, labs that we ran for Liam before we came here, just to identify some layers of stress for him, so some neural inflammation markers, and then we looked at genetics and look at how he detoxifies and looks at how he makes neurotransmitters and how he uses and metabolizes B vitamins, and all these different factors related to development are things that we look at, and those are specified for each kid based upon their history. But a lot of providers look at anomalies like an agenesis of a corpus callosum or some sort of genetic variation or some sort of brain injury, and they say, hey, that's all that we're working with, and not all of these other factors that are stressors for other kids with normal brain development, or not having a genetic condition, or kids that don't have a brain injury, or kids that don't have something structural. And so something I talked to you guys about, was it Tuesday or maybe Monday, was like, hey, would you be willing to sit down and talk through things? You're like, yeah, I watch all these podcasts. I'm like, well, which one did you relate to? And they're like, well, Liam's younger than most of the kids that are on your videos. I said, most of those younger kids are kids with those structural differences, some kids with those genetic or injuries at birth. But I love seeing kids at this age because their brain is so primed for development. And you talk about that nudge, or that change that you saw after a week here. That to me is really possible with kids at his young age. You guys made nutritional changes. Doctor actually made recommendations based off of supplements, and you guys are healthy people, healthy diet. But we said, hey, let's take out these foods. These could be affecting him and his balance centers, the communication between his brain and body, and those are low hanging fruit for a parent. Like, hey, let's just eat less gluten. Like, how hard is that? There's a little bit of effort, but how that translates into improved skills, like it's totally worth making those changes. But those labs let us identify those specific changes that we can recommend. Had you ever run any other functional labs before you came here? Like anything that looked at just overall health status and environmental factors or inflammation?
No, not prior to coming here. This was the first time. We had looked into genetic testing, but it was a little bit longer of a process. And so we did do that after we left, in addition to doing genetic testing through you guys as well. But no, we hadn't done any sort of functional testing at that point.
Well, just so people know, like, the importance of that, further genetic testing. So you're looking at genetic variations, genetic diseases, if you will. Those are different than what we measure with genetics, which looks at single nucleotide polymorphisms, basically how we handle nutrition, how our body adapts to stress, how we detoxify, how we make neurotransmitters. And so I think those tests complement each other really well. Like, hey, knowing why we might have this ACC, like the genetic variation that you shared with me has some implications with how the neurons develop. And obviously that could relate to brain development as a whole. So it's nice to know that. But then also the genetics that we ran were like, how do we support this little boy every day? Like, what can we provide him in his nutrition, in his supplements that are specific to him based upon his needs for that are really based upon his genetics. And so it's really evidence and it's really objective information that we can then take and you can apply. And it's just going to be supportive for him long term. So so we got back from his February intensive. We were here for a week. We did 10 1-hour sessions in that week. And he even slept a lot during that. And so maybe touch on some of the passive things that we can do that still led to the functional and active changes that you observed with Liam. So like, what did we do that first week, like while he was sleeping? Do you guys remember? Because I remember, but
I do, but I'll
yeah.
let you talk.
Definitely a lot of laser treatment, the M field machine for sure. You know, the number one goal that week, because of where he was to focus on his primitive reflexes. And, you know, he would get so startled from sudden loud noises or bangs or something like that. So that was obviously a huge focus for the week. And again, he had the clonus in his ankle, trying to get rid of that and get him walking better. And those are two things that we saw, you know, pretty significant improvements within the first, you know, 2 to 4 weeks after leaving Infinity.
And then 4th of July, no issues with
We
fireworks,
got through
things
the
like that.
fireworks. Even where we're staying right now, was it yesterday or 2 days ago? They were doing fire alarm testing and we didn't know, and we were in our Airbnb and
It was loud.
it went off and he
was fine.
just like,
No
okay,
big deal.
and
Yeah.
we moved on.
Well, that just tells us that his sensory systems are more stable, that his sensory systems are giving his brain, they're part of his brain, but they're also giving his brain a better picture of his surroundings, whether that's where he's moving, if he's, you know, if his head's moving in a direction or not, or what he's feeling through his body and where his arms and limbs are in space. And so that stability is really, really a baseline function and a huge goal initially. And so that stability, that all of a sudden he has better perception of himself. We use that M field. He starts to feel muscles that he maybe never had felt consistently or felt as much as he could or should have. And all of a sudden we just wake those things up and he starts walking. But he had started taking some steps before he came here, but it just became more consistent. Yeah. And a lot of people look at that and be like, yeah, you know, he's old enough. He should be walking around that time anyway. But would you say that you noticed like a pretty strong change in those 5 days before and after?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. And I'm maybe I'm kind of making this up, but I feel like that clonus and the reaction that he was getting in his ankle was affecting his stability as he was walking. And so as soon as, because we were able to eliminate it in that week. And so at the end of the week when that was gone, he didn't have any sort of repercussion from when he would take a step. And so it just allowed him to really like take off, which was great.
So clonus it's a reflexive movement, technically not a primitive reflex, but that's a great observation as a parent. Like parents understand their kids and how they move and how they develop like so well. But like that observation is like, hey, this is disruptive to his motor skills. And that's what we see are these primitive reflexes, abnormal muscle tone, reflexive movement like clonus. Those are disruptive for these motor skills. And so that's why I think we provide that level of stability to their sensory systems. They get better awareness, they have better control. And so always love kids with motor goals because it's tangible. We can measure that change. We can look at range of motion. We can see how they're holding their head. They're taking more steps before and after. I know you guys are doing a lot of work at home with laser, nutrition, just lifestyle, physical activity for him, and that all adds up long term. What has been, your experience with the laser at home? I know you said you do about 2/3 and you do a third.
Yeah.
How many minutes a day does it take?
Depending on the protocol, it's somewhere between 20 and 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, and what we'll do is from this week, we'll make adaptations to that, actually condense that down for you guys. But just so that people can realize where that relates, do you mind if I talk about some of the labs we ran?
Yeah, no, go for it.
One of the labs we ran was a neural zoomer. So it's a finger prick. So a couple minutes of not very much fun for the kid, but it does tell us, hey, what is their immune system doing and how does that relate to their brain and nervous system? And so he had antibodies against different areas of his brain, different areas of his nervous system, peripheral nerves, and those things have to be managed in order for a kid to really maximize their developmental potential. And so that's what we see commonly. Those markers are always different, so it's not like the lab's always the same for each kid. But when we ran that lab, there was areas of stress in his motor centers of the brain, his cerebellum, that has a lot to do with balance and coordination. So when we use laser therapy on those areas, we decrease that inflammation. We're not treating autoimmunity. We're just helping support function, managing inflammation, and then his body can manage those things when it's given a break. And so we're essentially trying to pull back these layers of stress to him so he can maximize that beautiful development that a 2-year-old has accessible to them and for them. What is his overall take on coming into therapy? Do you think he's okay with it? Do you think that he dreads it at all, or what's Liam's vibe with
Well, he's
coming?
2.
Yeah.
But I actually do think he likes it. We'll say before we leave to come here, "Do you want ready? We're gonna go see Dr. Lauren." And he definitely associates it with playing because there's a lot of fun, uses of different therapies while you're here. He does, at least when we are at home and we do his laser protocol, that's about the only time we let him watch TV. So it's his favorite part of the day, of course, because he's 2. So he definitely has a positive association, which is great. But even coming here, I mean, there's so many different apparatuses that he gets to play on. So it's definitely a positive experience for him.
When he's so sweet, so cute. He's a hard worker too.
Yes.
And you can just see that intensity. Sometimes he'll push us away, but it's not ill intent. He just wants to
No,
be
he's
a
determined.
2-year-old. He wants to play, but when we ask him to work, he's got the want to, and that's going to take him a long, long ways. Any words to other parents with kids with agenesis of their corpus callosum, any kids with motor goals, motor delays, challenges? Any words?
I mean, I just want to say when my wife first found Infinity and told me about it, I had my level of skepticism just because he had been in so many different therapies that she went through earlier. And, we saw some progress, but it maybe wasn't as fast as maybe I had hoped for. And I'm thinking, okay, so we've got to go to Iowa from the East Coast and we've got to spend all this money. And are we going to see the progress that we hope to see? And it's such a customized program for each child based on, the labs that they do, based on the pre-discussions that the doctor has with the parent to understand, okay, what's going on? What are your goals? What do you hope to see? And what can we attack in the time that you're here with us? And they accomplish so much in such a short amount of time. And then on top of that, they develop a plan for you going forward. So like we said, we now do the laser protocol at home. We do the supplements. We've changed his diet. And all of these things have led to what we saw, a huge, progression in the time after we left the first time, but also continued steady growth until the next time where you then see, okay, and I remember you said this to me last time, when you come back, we don't start off where we left off last time. We start off where they are now. And we understand, okay, where are you now? What do we want to see? And what do we realistically can we accomplish in this next session? So I can't say enough good things about this place. I mean, it's helped him so much.
Yeah, I would also just say, especially with Liam, and I'm sure with other children as well, consistency is key. And so it was really important for us to take that home plan because as as great as the week is, it's only a week. And so if you're just gonna leave and not do anything with that week, you're probably not gonna see the progress. But I give kudos to ourselves because we are consistent and we make sure that it's a part of Liam's daily routine to get the supplements in, to get the 20 minutes of lasering every day. And we've seen a difference. And I will say his other therapists at home have said they've seen a difference since we returned last time as well.
And make him steak and sweet
Oh,
potato and
yes.
all
He
the
is the
bodybuilder
yeah, the
foods
best
and
fed
everything.
child
Yeah.
in America,
Oh,
I
I mean,
swear.
it's a huge deal for him. I mean, his brain and body are literally made out of the foods he eats. And every
Absolutely.
child is in the same position. And so I think as parents, we need to always consider that when we're feeding our children. And so
He does not have a child diet. He
no.
has an adult diet, which I
What is a
love.
child diet? Like a
It's not
junk
chicken. He does not eat if you gave him a chicken nugget, I don't think he would know what to do with it. Mac and cheese would have no clue. A grilled cheese, he doesn't eat any of that. He doesn't know it. And it's so easy to start that young. He'll never know that stuff. And so it will just be so much easier for him. I mean, sometimes I wish I had that diet because you don't know what you're missing out on, and it's so perfect, whereas I'm like, I'll take the cupcake, thank
Yeah,
you.
those food addictions are ingrained in us.
Oh,
Like, yeah, the
yes.
90s and
Oh,
we're
it's not
different
good.
than the awareness as
Oh,
parents.
yes.
I'm just thinking about there's obviously we're using lasers, some complementary wavelengths to what you have at home. We're using the M field, but also the different things that we're able to do with him now. He's developed, and he would probably be in a better position if we never even saw him in February compared to now with what you've done. But just like what we're able to do from a balance perspective and get him upright on Bosu balls and different unstable surfaces and let him stand unassisted a lot of times and see how stable he is in that. And that's pretty advanced stuff for a 2-year-old. And so it's really exciting. So you say like, hey, we're not just picking up where we left off. We're picking off where they are now. And so and that starts every day. Like how is this movement? How are these reflexes? How is our eye stability, our balance, our muscle tone? That dictates where we're going to start things and what we're going to do for that session. I think that this place doesn't get stuck in a routine. There's things that are helpful for a child. Obviously, Enfield is helpful for him. Obviously, laser. So I'd be silly not to use those things. But then also, what other kind of therapies can we do to complement those and really customize and tailor things for him and just keep giving him that developmental nudge that he's going to take and then build on and continue to progress from. So unless you guys have anything else, I really appreciate your time and very thankful for giving us the opportunity to work with Liam. It's an honor. It's a blessing. It's the best part of my job is to see kids come back and they're in better position than when they left and just work with them and just be a small part of, his story, your guys' story, and just help out with just as many kids as we can and help them as much as we can. So I appreciate
Yeah.
your time. Thanks so
No,
much.
thank you. We're so grateful for you guys.
Well, likewise. Well, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for parents like taking a shot, bringing their kids from the East Coast. Like we'll have parents who are like, I live like 2 hours away. There's no way I can make it. I'm like, oh, we have people coming from farther than that. And this stuff is available, like the literature, the methodology. This is out there. People shouldn't have to travel from all over the world. But I think Dr. Josh just took all these different things that are available, his understanding of the brain and development, and these different modalities and tools that are helpful, and just put them into an office, and then trained us as a staff to implement that. That's why people come. It's holistic, it's different, it's innovative, it's beneficial. And so like we wouldn't be here without parents, but there would be nothing to come to without just the multidisciplinary approach that we take and the multiple modalities that we implement. So
Absolutely.
yeah, thanks a lot, guys.
Thank
and
you.
We got a session here in about an hour and a half, so I'm looking forward to that. So
We're
thanks a
ready
lot.
to go.